For those of you who have put in the time, you've built the career, you've hustled, you've even earned that title and paycheck you thought you always wanted, but you still can't shake that feeling that you're meant for something more. This episode is gonna be for you. Because if you find yourself saying, I'm not ready yet, it's not the right time, you're far more prepared than you're giving yourself credit for. You're clear enough to know, deep down, this current path no longer fits. But you might not be clear enough on what comes next, and that's okay, we can fix that. I've been having this conversation a lot lately with peers and friends and family, and this is bigger than one person's private impasse, okay? LinkedIn is reporting the rate of US professionals adopting the title of founder for the first time rose 70% over the last year, and it's up over 300% since 2022. This should tell you something. This is something that is building a movement. It is not random or isolated. If you've been quietly wondering whether you really want to keep building someone else's dream, waiting on someone else's timeline, hoping the next title or promotion will finally give you the life that you've been seeking, we're going to explore some clear next steps to help you get unstuck and pave an alternate path, one of your choosing, for that next big leap in your life and your career. Because I think a lot of people out there are far closer than they realize. They're not starting from scratch. You are starting from experience. What you need is not more permission, you need more clarity for that next step. For too long, entrepreneurs and business owners have been told they have to choose between profit and purpose. If you're tired of burning out, done chasing someone else's version of success, and ready to grow with more purpose, prosperity, and peace of mind, you're in the right place. Because every business has the potential to do good and do well. I'm Chase Friedman, and this is In Pursuit of Purpose, where strategy meets soul. I've been having this conversation more and more, like 2 or 3 times a week, honestly, with people who are accomplished and respected, have expertise, network, results. And somewhere after the first few minutes, after the slow ramp up and practical polite talk fades, the honesty shows up, right? That deeper truth comes out. They want something more, something different. They want more freedom, more control, more ownership over how they work, who they work with, what they're building towards and for. They're tired of feeling beholden to company politics, right? Shifting priorities, restructures, layoffs, the promise that maybe, just maybe, if they keep waiting and grinding and performing, then that next title or promotion is finally gonna come. Maybe, eventually, possibly. Honestly, a lot of them already know they have something more to give and provide. They'll tell me things like, I could see myself consulting. I know I have the experience. I know I can help people. I want to help people. I've got the network. I've just never really given it a shot, or it's not really my personality, or I don't know where to start. And that's the moment that interests me the most, because they're not confused about whether they have value or what they really truly want. They're confused about what to do with it and how to apply it. So they're standing between a life that feels familiar and structured and safe, and one that feels more on their terms, more aligned, more honest, but yeah, a lot more uncertain. I get that. I've been there. This is where people get stuck. Not because they're lazy, not because they're incapable, because this is a real big fucking decision and change in your life, especially if you've got people relying on you, friends, family, kids. And I want to be careful not to make any of this sound too neat or easy or simple, because for a lot of people, myself included, it is fucking scary. And I've been doing this for 10 years and it is still scary. It's not just some romantic go bet on yourself and throw caution to the wind. You might be tied to a steady paycheck. Your family, your mortgage, your bills, all relying on you, okay, to keep showing up every month as predicted. The doubt and the questions, here's where they arise. How am I gonna land my first deal? How will I get enough deals? How do I build something that I've never fully built before without the safety net I'm used to? What if I make the wrong moves? What if I jump ship and I can't go back? These are real questions, and you need to spend time with them. I think sometimes people get handed down this watered down advice in moments like this. Just leap, just trust yourself, trust the process. A phrase I love, but in this case, I'm a little bit more measure twice, cut once, right? Especially when other people demand on you, right? I have kids, I have a family. This is not just some solo romantic pursuit of self-discovery. The answer is not to pretend that fear is abnormal or irrational. It's respecting it and helping that push you forward, that burning desire for something different, something more. Part of the reason I care so much about this and helping others find their path, whichever way it leads, is I've been in those shoes. I started as a filmmaker and then transitioned into a completely new industry where I had no education and experience. I've worked for Fortune 100 companies. I've worked for toxic employers and bosses who try to sabotage me. I knew early on I was not made and fit to work in that environment, to work for, quote unquote, the man, right? And I'm not saying all that is good or bad. You have to look inwards and see what is right for you and your personality and the lifestyle that you want to lead. I knew that early on. It took me quite a while to get there and to kind of make that leap, but inevitably, there's no going back. I'm glad I did. But it was scary. And admittedly, I did so before I had a family, before I had kids. So if you're at that stage of life now, I get it. It is a lot more pressure and responsibility on your shoulders. But I know what it's like to build something that looks successful from the outside, whether that's a career or a business as an entrepreneur, but you still have that quieter voice inside asking the bigger questions. What is this all for? Why am I doing this? What is my purpose? Is this aligned? Are you aligned? Are you truly free in what you're doing? Questions about the pace, the pressure, the path. Does that still fit the life that I actually want or that I always envisioned? I know what this feels like to hit a wall and a point where it's no longer enough for things to just look good on paper, the growth, the salary, the revenue, because at a certain point you start wanting more than that momentum for momentum's sake, right? You start wanting more honesty and truth with yourself, more ownership, more intention, less being on autopilot. You can think to yourself, this is working, so I guess I should just keep doing it forever. That's the biggest trap we find ourselves in. And as you can imagine, it's this continued internal monologue. I think it's disorienting because you've been this one person who figures things out, who keeps things moving, stable, steady, perform at a high level, and that can feel really bizarre, even a little ungrateful to admit that, hey, this might not work for this next chapter of my life. And a lot of people hit that point and we assume something is wrong or they should stop questioning it and they just push it down, they repress it, right? It's not that something's wrong, it's something that's sort of waking up or becoming more honest with what you want in life, right? What you're no longer to put off or postpone. So that honesty, that vulnerability can be super uncomfortable, especially to share with others, but it might be time to shake things up internally. So here's a reframe I wanna offer you and for you to consider. When it comes to starting a new chapter in your career or your life, you're not starting from scratch. You're starting from years of experience that you can build on. A lot of people at this crossroads, they talk themselves out of this move as if they're beginning from zero, as if they have no experience in building something. They're not. They've led teams, they've solved problems, they've earned trust, judgment, built relationships, perspective, their own IP in some cases, that people would gladly pay for your expertise. This is not whether you have nothing, it's that you haven't translated that into something that you own and have ownership over. And that's why I think a lot of people in this season, they don't need a reinvention. They just need a new translation of experiences they already have, a new way and confidence and clarity to see what you're great at differently. Your credibility, your instincts, your network, your perspective, to build your own foundation and brand. And when you see it that way, this conversation starts to change. It stops being, how do I start over? Or how do I start from scratch? Into, how do I turn everything I've already built into something more aligned and more intentional and more my own? It's a much stronger mindset to begin with. So I want to offer you 3 foundational questions that you should consider and answer for yourself. Spend some time with it. If you're in that in-between season right now, maybe one foot on each side of the fence. Let's make this simple. Before you go build this whole thing, a business, a brand, map out every step, pause for a second and ask yourself some simple questions. What do I actually want? What kind of life and work and freedom and business do I want now for this next chapter? Think, what do I already have? What experiences and strengths and insights and credibility am I sitting on that I might not be taking full advantage of for myself? And then finally, what's that next right step? Just one. What's one move I can make in the next day, week, month to create some traction? That's it. Not the whole plan, not the whole 5-year vision, not the whole brand. Just get enough honesty to get clear and enough clarity to take one step. That momentum is going to turn into a lot more action. And honestly, that's where a lot of people get unlocked. Not when they finally have the whole plan, because that can be daunting and overwhelming. You'll never get there if you start with the whole plan in mind. Start in little bites. But when you get honest about what you want and stop discounting what you bring to the table, take one real step instead of living in that maybe someday purgatory, potentially for the rest of your life. This is where I think it's important to be honest with yourself about how the early stage is often going to work. At the beginning, I do not think the goal is perfect alignment and synergy or getting everything dialed in for that next leap. It's traction, it's momentum. So early on, that might mean making a few strategic yeses to keep the lights on, not because they're final expression of exactly what you want to do and who you want to do it for, but it helps you build proof and confidence and momentum and, yes, cash flow to keep the lights on. So not desperate yeses that completely derail you from your purpose and what you want to be doing, but credible opportunities that help you get into motion and start building evidence, right? Start building proof for where you want to go. Because the reality is when you're making this first shift, you're not going to have the luxury of only saying yes to the perfect thing. Let's not be delusional and quit our job with nothing else to back us up and having this, dare I say, entitled creator mindset of, I'm just going to make stuff for me, right? Let's be a little bit more pragmatic and realistic about this. Take some small wins first. Get yourself moving, build that confidence, right? That is going to propel you into be able to be more discerning and more selective down the road of what it is you want and love and what you don't, right? You might not have the luxury of only saying yes to the perfect thing each time, and that's okay. I did a lot of weird, shitty, misaligned products in the beginning, but if I didn't, and if I was just reeling and looking for that one perfect opportunity, I would have never gotten started, and I would have probably bounced back to where I was in something safe and steady. I had to build small micro wins and micro steps in building confidence, even in things that were crazy. I said yes to things that I had no business and no experience doing in the beginning. Remember, I didn't come from a marketing and branding background. I didn't have that education in school. So when people said, hey, Chase, can you build us a website, run a social campaign, create some brand storytelling content for us, help us build our own internal studio? The answer was what? Yeah, sure, no problem. And I hustled and I learned and I self-taught. And I, quite frankly, outworked a lot of my peers and competitors. And I figured it out. And that confidence, proving to myself that I could do it, even something that I had no experience doing, was enough momentum and action to help me start building to bigger deals, to higher price points, to greater knowledge work that valued my time and my perspective much higher than from where I started, all right? So those early deals, they might not be glamorous, but it's part of the build. So now some of those early yeses are exactly what help you refine your positioning, how you differentiate in the market. They show you where the demand is. They help you learn what kind of work energizes you, what kind of work drains you and you hate and makes you crazy, what kind of clients you value most, where your real edge and expertise start to emerge. So that helps you turn that vague conviction into like a real living, breathing confidence and expertise. And then over time, if you build it well, those yeses you earn can create something powerful. The ability to be more selective, more no's. In a position where you could start saying no to the work that is misaligned or underpaid or outside your strengths, because that's the dream, right? Let's not kid ourselves. We're not going to say yes forever until we burn out in a slightly more independent way. That's no better than working for the man and misaligned dreams. At first, you say yes to build momentum, and then you earn the right to say no to protect yourself and your alignment. So that to me is a much more honest picture of how a lot of real businesses and entrepreneurs actually get built. It doesn't happen overnight. It doesn't happen with perfectly aligned clients and revenue and profitability out of the gate. That's not real life. This is why I love this work so much, because I love helping people understand themselves better to get to the point where they can finally admit what they already know. I do want more. I do want ownership. I do want freedom to build something that belongs to me, to follow my purpose. And I love helping them realize that this next chapter is not about throwing away their career and everything they've already done. It's about translating that into an asset, an IP, and a brand they can own. Everything they've built, they've learned, and they've become, shaping it into something that they have control over and they can decide and they have authority. So instead of, can I do this? The better question is how do I do this in a way that honors my experience and my perspective and supports the life and career I actually want? That question leads to a different kind of business, a more intentional business owner, a more thoughtful one. One that's, quite frankly, sustainable, not gonna burn you out. A business that's built not just around what you're good at, but how you actually want to live and what you love doing, what you're passionate about. And for a lot of people, that is the real unlock. So if you're listening to this and you know and you feel that this is your season, here's what I want you to do. Take 10 quiet minutes, open a note, grab a piece of paper, answer these questions honestly. What do I actually want? What do I already have? And what is the next right step? Don't overcomplicate it. Not a big, huge, giant strategy session. Just tell the truth. Tell me the truth. Because one honest page can be more useful than 100 sort of stream of consciousness ideas. And I've been there. Sometimes clarity starts the moment you stop trying to sound impressive and established and have all the answers and just name what you want. Name what you know. Name what you're ready to begin doing. That first next step. So let me leave you with this. You do not have to have the entire business figured out before you begin. You need honesty with yourself, clarity in where you're going, and one clear, smart step, and the courage to trust that what you've already built in your life and your career is already preparing you for more than your current role can hold. Yes, this can be fucking scary. You're taking a huge leap and pivot. The risk can feel real because it is. The early chapter requires flexibility and agility. But a lot of times that's exactly how you build the courage and confidence and momentum to keep going. I hope you don't just listen to this, but believe in yourself when I say this. You are far more ready than you know. Not because everything is certain or gonna be clear or easy, or you're gonna be completely fearless out of the gate, but because you already have far more of the raw material and experience and preparedness than you think. You are not starting from scratch. You are starting from experience. I appreciate you tuning in today. I hope this brought you a bit of confidence, clarity, and conviction on your business journey. If something here resonated, do me a favor, leave a quick review or share this episode with someone who needs to hear it. It goes a long way in helping more people find the show and start their own journey. And as always, you'll find all the resources and ways to connect with me in the show notes. Now, go take that next step in building the business you've been dreaming of. Wishing you continued purpose, prosperity, and peace of mind.